Hello and welcome to episode 18 of Diary of a Security Consultant. The things where we talk, the place where we talk all things security consultancy and security industry, I suppose. Tony O'Brien from Security Operative Consultancy Services here again. And in this much shorter episode than the last few, I want to talk a little bit about a concept that I teach quite a bit, but that has been on my mind quite a bit based on readings and podcasts and stuff that I listen to, and that is the concept of what I call toolbox thinking. Toolbox thinking is a concept that I use in training with security professionals about building a complete skill set and behavior set for being a wide-ranging security practitioner, I suppose, covering a lot of areas. And why it's come into my mind to talk about it, I suppose I've been listening to some podcasts and stuff lately, and it's come up, and one that I've been following quite closely actually is Andy Prodero, I think is the correct name, from PCR Global. He has had some really good walk and talk videos lately around the subject of the grab bag mentality, which is kind of similar, and I really like the thoughts of it. I was also listening last week to Chris Story on Conversations in Close Protection, and he was interviewing a gentleman by the name of Greg Schneider, I believe, from Battle Tested Solutions. And he was describing him as a multi-tool among security professionals, as in a real generalist. And I think that's important if we're going to give a proper level of protection, a proper level of security to clients or service users or whatever the case might be, that we are very much a generalist and we can cover a wide breadth of security issues. This concept of toolbox thinking is something that I started using, I suppose, a number of years ago on myself, and then I've started to teach it through training and stuff like that to other people. And essentially the concept of toolbox thinking is around that, you as a security professional are a craftsman. And in order to be an effective craftsman, you need to have the correct tools. And I always equate the tools to the skills and the knowledge that you're required to do your job. So every skill that you pick up and every piece of knowledge that you learn and every qualification that you gain is simply a tool to apply in a toolbox. But as a craftsman, all of those tools are, I won't say useless, but certainly diminished if you don't have the correct toolbox in which to store them. So the toolbox is what I always equate then to the mindset. Having similar to the subject of the last video, which was having the prepared mindset. So having a prepared toolbox that is big enough, as in a growth mindset, to house all of your skills and your tools. That is robust enough or resilient enough to properly house and use all the skills. And that is organized and prepared enough to be able to access those tools and skills as they're required. So having a mindset that is, in control, it's prepared, it's resilient, it's based on a growth mindset, it's constantly seeking to expand. That's the toolbox. And within that toolbox, we'll have a selection of tools. We will have a range of hard tools, saws, hammers, screwdrivers, things like that, power tools. And they are hard skills. I would equate that in the security industry and to things like, your martial skills, your comms and equipment skills, your the technical skills, the hard skills, perhaps if you're working overseas, your shooting and fighting skills, your medical skills, things like that. And in addition to that, in the toolbox, you'll also have other tools, preparatory tools, your measuring tapes, your pencils, your squares, and your spirit levels. And they're your enabling tools. And that's your underpinning knowledge, as I equated to. So while we have all these medical skills, we have the underpinning knowledge to go with it. We have martial skills, we have underpinning knowledge to go with it. And they are the enabling tools. They enable you to effectively use the harder tools more effectively. And then in addition to that, in addition to your enabling tools, which is your knowledge-based stuff, and your hard tools, which is your skills-based stuff, we also need to have things like our 3-in-1 oil, WD-40. We need to have our sharpening stones for our hard tools, our cleaning cloths, things that keep our tools and our skills effective. And I equate those in the security industry, things like our soft skills, our behavioral skills, our resilience, but also to things like our more underpinning behaviors, such as our physical fitness, our mindfulness, and our mental resilience, but also in terms of things like recovery and sleep and stuff like that. So they are the things that enable us to keep our tools sharp and keep our tools effective. And they all combined. You have a craftsman who takes pride in his or her work, and you combine that with an effective toolbox, which houses all the skills. That's the mindset. Like I said, the resilience, the robustness, the preparedness, and you fill that toolbox with the required skills based on that person's requirements. So if it's a carpenter, it's a certain set of tools. If it is a plumber, it's a certain set of tools. If it's a block layer, it's a certain set of tools. It could be an all-round handyman, and you have a multitude of tools coming in there. So depending on what your specialist area is, you fill it with the right tools and the right care equipment to go with it. And that is what builds, for me, I suppose, the total security practitioner. Or as Chris Story mentioned in his podcast recently, the multi-tool. You become the multi-tool. So you can apply a range of tools in a range of locations, but only if you have the toolbox in which to carry them in. I think it's something worth considering. While a lot of us would concentrate on building and collecting tools and collecting hard skills, do we concentrate enough on, well, where do we house those hard skills? Is there chaos in our life? Is there preparedness in our life? Are we concentrating on our resilience? Are we looking after our tools in terms of recovery and physical fitness and mindfulness and those things that enable us to be more effective craftsmen? Because essentially, I think that as professionals, that's where we need to go. I think I've mentioned one of the mottos I've always lived by is be effective, not just clever. Gathering loads and loads of tools is kind of pointless. Loads and loads of skills and stuff like that is kind of pointless if they're not relevant to what it is you're seeking to achieve. And I think one of the comments on one of the posts that I put out that by somebody who I really, really respect and really, really look up to in the industry was Dr. Richard Diston. He said, "Why not be both?" And I think that's a very good point. Why not be both? Why not collect loads and loads and loads of underpinning knowledge that you can use to apply to your skill set and make your skill set better? But it all falls apart without the care tools. There's no point in having lots of really powerful tools, top of the range, and not looking after those tools in terms of like actually recovery and things like that as well. So that's the subject I want to talk about today. Hopefully you can gain something from it, and hopefully it's something that can resonate with you. If it's not, feel free to disagree and comment. If it is, feel free to put your points across. So until next time, like I said, I was going to keep today short and sweet, to the point. Until next week, where we have episode 19. Thank you very much for your time. This is Tony O'Brien, Security Officer Consultancy Services. See you next week.